All right, in this video, I want to talk about how there seems to be some kind of spiritual blindness that has overcome the Christian church or the supposed Christian church, and they have gotten things very screwed up this year, and it doesn't make any sense. I don't know what's going on. It's as if everyone has bumped their head and they have gone retarded and they will not listen to reason. They're getting caught up on this 923 saying that it is the Feast of Trumpets, but we know that the Feast of Trumpets is in the 7th month, right? So you're going to have to bear with me as I zoom in and out of these things. Let's shrink it down. Let's get it all in there. All right, so right here at the top, I have Leviticus 23. In verses 23 through 25, it says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, and the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord." This is talking about the Feast of Trumpets. It's the first day of the 7th month, right? This is talking about Tishrei. And I don't know what just happened there. You have to forgive me. Sometimes this just messes up, especially when you're trying to do a video. But here, this is an AI response. These two ones I have right next to each other, AI responses, but it says here, Tishrei, new moon constellation. Tishrei is associated with the new moon occurring in the constellation of Libra, also known as the balances. Now, if you want, you can continue to read that if you so choose, but this is like I've been saying. The 7th month is when the sun and the new moon are spotted in the constellation of Libra, known as the balances or the scales of judgment, right? And we can see here, such as right here, the Essene calendar. Again, this is another AI response, but you can look into this yourself. It says the Essene solar calendar is 364-day calendar that is based on the movement of the sun and the constellations, particularly the constellation Aries, which is the ram. The year begins on the first Wednesday after the sun enters the constellation Aries, which occurs around March 20th, marking the vernal equinox. All right, so you can see here how the Essenes, they would wait for the sun to be in the constellation of Aries before they would declare it to be the beginning of the year, the new year starting. Now, they didn't wait for the new moon. They would wait for some reason for a Wednesday for some reason, which doesn't seem to make sense, especially since Wednesday would be a pagan idea, right? I think there's something mixed up with that. But you can see how they would use the constellation to determine when the sun is in that constellation. Well, guess what? If the sun's in that constellation, that's where the new moon is going to be as well. Because the new moon happens when the moon is very close to where the sun is at, right? So they're going to be in the same area. So when the sun and the new moon are in the constellation of Aries, that's your first month, right? And guess what happens on the 7th month from there? The sun and moon go into Tishrei, the scales, the 7th month. Like we see here from Chabad.org. I've tried to pronounce it the way the Hebrews do, but it's tough. Chabad. Yeah, just trying to have some fun with that. Maybe I'll get it down someday. But as you can see here, it says why the zodiac for the month of Tishrei is scales, Libra, or the balances, right? And it talks about it here on this website. I just wanted to take a quick screenshot of this. But you see how even the Jews, the Hebrews, are telling us that, when the sun and moon are in the scales, the balances, that's the start of the 7th month. And it's the first day of the 7th month, which is the Feast of Trumpets, right? And as you can see here, on the left here, the numbers, it says biblical, right? And when you get down to 7 on the left there, what does it say? Tishrei, the 7th month, right? On the Hebrew civil calendar, which is not God's calendar, it's the 1st month of the year, but that is not according to God's calendar, right? God's calendar starts at Nisan or Abib, Aviv, depending if you use the Hebrew or Babylonian names. It doesn't matter. Tishrei is, I believe, a Babylonian name, but it's still the 7th month, even though it's not the Hebrew name for the month. But, why am I bringing this up? Because on September 23rd, at the new moon, where they plan on celebrating the Feast of Trumpets, it's the 1st day of the 6th month. And it did it again. The 1st day of the 6th month. And I don't know what just happened. I do not know what just happened. Everything just went away. Somebody didn't want you to see that the 6th month is Elul. And people are even telling me, yeah, it's Elul. You know, when the sun and moon are in Virgo, right? We're going into the month Elul. Well, that's the 6th month. The Feast of Trumpets is not in the 6th month. It's in the 7th. But for some reason, there we go. It just wanted to vanish on me. You can see right here, the 6th month, that doesn't matter, is Elul. And that's the month we're heading into. We're in Av right now. And before you know it, we're going to be heading into Elul. The 6th month of the frickin' year, not the 7th. So why is it that everybody's acting as though this is really the Feast of Trumpets? When we know the Hebrews, the Jews, have been a month early before. And it's obvious they're a month early again, even according to their own understanding of when the 7th month is. It's all right here in front of your face, but for some reason, none of you want to pay attention to it. Even these watchmen who have taught you about this are still all sticking to 9/23, even though they know goddamn well that this is not the Feast of Trumpets. They know they're a month early because I know about how this is all numbered, and people like me have tried talking to them, and they don't give a shit. And you're all going to go happily thinking, yay, this is the day. We're going to go listen to the televised version of the trumpets being blasted from Israel for the first time in forever. And then on that last trump is when we're going to go. Well, you're going to get disappointed at that day. You think I'm sitting here bursting your bubble and disappointing you. Yeah, if I just shut up and let you go about this, you're going to be disappointed anyway, because nothing's going to happen on that day concerning the actual rapture. And I can almost guarantee it. Right? I mean, God can take us whenever, so there is a chance that, hey, that could be when. But if you think God's going to take us to the Feast of Trumpets, that's not when we're going. And a matter of fact, when you think of the last trump, I know a lot of you think of the Feast of Trumpets, right? But the last trump is actually in the 3rd feast of the 7th month. Because you go to Leviticus 23, there is another feast after the Feast of Trumpets on the 10th day of the 7th month called Atonement. And then at about the 14th, on the full moon of that month, you have Tabernacles. And on the 8th day of Tabernacles, it's a Sabbath, and they actually have the last blasting of the trumpets for the year according to God's feasts. Right? Now, they might do something else concerning Hanukkah and everything, but that wasn't one of the feasts that God established in the Torah. Right? That was something that came along after, when they had to rededicate the temple. Right? So that's something else to take into consideration there. Right? The rapture might not even be at the Feast of Trumpets. If it is, it's going to be October 22nd if it's 2025. And I'm not saying that it is. right? I'm not setting any dates. I'm just letting everybody know the truth here. And most people are just not even listening. Most people are just ignoring me, right? Nothing I can do about it. But they're all going to be disappointed, right? And the people who do respond to me, most of the time they're responding negatively. Like I'm some kind of evil person for telling them the truth. You know, like Paul says, oh, am I your enemy? You hate me now because I tell you the truth? I haven't wronged you in any way. In any way whatsoever. If you don't mind telling someone the gospel because you don't want them to go to hell, then you can't be mad at me for telling somebody, hey, you're celebrating the wrong days, the Feast of Trumpets, so because I don't want them to get disappointed, because they could get discouraged. There's going to be some people, you know, that are going to get discouraged, where they get the hype so hyped up that when this day passes and we're still here, they're going to be super discouraged. Some of them, who knows what's going to happen, right? And that could have been avoided if they heard what I had to say. If just one of the watchmen who are actually popular actually brought this up, even if they just brought it up as a possibility, at least get it out to the people saying, well, you know, we could be wrong on the date. It could be a month later. They're not giving anything to this. You know, kind of like the news, where the news, they don't put out anything that they really don't want to talk about. That would be goes contrary to the story that they want to give out to everybody. And that's what making me think that there's a blindness over the church. For some reason, I don't know why God is having this happen, but it's happening. And I think there's a lot of hirelings, a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing that are deceiving people. Even if it's not for money, it's because they want to feed off of your attention. And they enjoy it, your attention. And you got to understand, one of the things narcissists enjoy doing is setting people up to knock them down, right? They love to puff you up, to make you think like you're unbeatable, like you're the Titanic, you're unsinkable, just so they can sink you. And just, it's so much more devastating. You know, the bigger the fall, the higher you are, right? If you're standing up and you get knocked over, it's like, oh, you fell down on your butt. Be like, hey, that wasn't cool. You get back up. But if they get you to go up on a ladder and they knock you down, right? Or up on a roof, up on a bridge, right? Up on a plane, then, you know, the higher they can get you up, the further you're going to fall, the more enjoyable it is for them. Especially if afterwards they can still get you to agree with them and do it again, which is basically what these people are doing. Feast in and feast out, year in and year out. They're getting you all hyped up just to knock you down, just to do it again. And it's like this year seems like they're hyping it up more than ever, right? At first they knocked you on your butt, and now they're knocking you off a stool, and then they knock you off a ladder, they knock you off the house, they knock you off a bridge. Now they're bringing you up. I don't want to say they're already bringing you up in a plane, because I guess the next step, what is a spaceship or something, right? But they're getting you higher than before, and they're going to knock you down again, and a good lot of you are going to get up and do it again. Because you're all blind and you're all retarded. There's no other way around it. Because why else would you be doing this stupid stuff? This is just ridiculous. Unless you know for sure the date, you shouldn't say anything. Unless you know for sure this is when we're going, you shouldn't act like that's when we're going. And there's some people, like there was a guy, Joshua, I believe he's from South Africa, was saying, God told him this is the day. What are you saying? God told him. All right, so he believes God told him, right? So he's saying it because he thinks he knows, right? So from his point of view, he knows, that's why he's saying it. I know this is the day. All right. But if you're just speculating, like I don't know this is the date, I have no reason to believe this is the date. No reason whatsoever for me to believe this is when we're going to be raptured. Oh, they're having a meeting in the UN. Yeah, they've had all kinds of meetings at the UN. It's the 80th one. So what? That doesn't mean we're going to be raptured. Doesn't mean they're actually going to come up with a peace deal. Doesn't mean anything. Just means they're meeting together. You're getting caught up in all this hype. They're just playing with you. And that's the thing. When this day passes, you're all going to do it again. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do, right? But anyway, I just wanted to put this thing together here to try to talk some sense into you. The 7th month is Tishrei, when the sun and the new moon are in the constellation of Libra. The scales or the balances, as you can see here, for judgment. And judgment starts at the house of God. And maybe that's why this blindness is coming over the church. There's some kind of judgment coming. And it could be showing, hey, the church is blind, like the Laodicean church that is blind. Which is strange because all these people claim to believe the gospel. And they're looking for the rapture. But they're blind to this. How can they be so blind to this? For my personal opinion, why I think a lot of these people are buying into this is a mixture of they're just believing what they want to believe. Right? So they'll find anything that will support this because they want it to be true. So they're going to find anything that backs it up. Right? So they're not going to even hear anything out that says that they're wrong. They're only going to take everything that would even slightly point to this even being the day, and they will cling to that. And they want to believe it so bad that they'll believe it. You know, it's the whole thing of Donald Trump when he talks about the art of the deal. You're going to make the deal sound so good that people believe it not because it's true, but they believe it simply because they want it to be true, right? And that's what I think the big part of this is. But I also think another part of this is this just self-absorption, all right? They talk about how they want to be with Jesus so bad. I think that's just some lip service, to be honest. If you want to be with Jesus so bad, why don't you take a step back and pray and read and talk to God and be like, is this really the day? Right? Is this really the day? And if you get confirmation that this is really the day, and then it passes, you got to ask yourself, God, I was talking to you and you confirmed this to me. So what's up with that? You're going to have to question your relationship with God. And because I'm definitely going to question your relationship with God. If you start saying, oh, there's confirmations for this day, and this day passes, I'm going to think that your relationship with God is pretty shit. That for some reason you're following some other spirit, whether it's your own or not. There's something off here. All right? But, yeah, I'm kind of rambling on here now. But this stuff just kind of irks me. I mean, about 10 years of this stuff, and nobody's learned. If anything, it seems to be getting worse. It's just ridiculous. It really is. So, yeah, you think, oh, you study, you're going to know the day and the hour. All right. Well, then, do that until you know. Not until you think it might be. Till you know. And unless you truly know, you're just making a fool out of yourself. And guess what? Since I'm Christian, and I believe the gospel, and I believe Jesus is coming to rapture us soon, guess what? I'm lumped up with all you jackasses. The world sees me as one of you. Right? It just comes with the territory. So thank you all for that. I appreciate it, making it more difficult to actually reach people. Thank you for all that. It's been amazing. Right? As if we don't deal with enough mocking and scoffing as it is. But whatever. Let's add to it for no good reason. There's no benefit to doing this whatsoever. None. You tell me the benefit this has had. You say, oh, you've encouraged Christians that Jesus is coming. Okay, and what benefit has that done for them? What has it done with the world, right? Because the whole point is to get the gospel out to people. So I haven't really seen that happen because of this. So what is the fruit of this? This date setting stuff. I don't see any good fruit. None. You say people are being encouraged. Yeah, they're being encouraged to then get discouraged when it doesn't happen. And if you say, well, you're not discouraged when the day passes, then you don't need any encouragement in the first place. Right? So it was useless. It just doesn't make sense. I go over it over and over, like trying to make sense of it. And it just seems like some kind of judgment, some kind of spiritual judgment on the church, because it makes no sense. Like why this is happening. Especially when I see some people who seem like good, godly people, as in they believe the gospel. They love God. They're looking for his return and they're spreading the gospel. And then they get caught up in this. And I'm like, yeah, I guess because they really want to believe it's true, I guess. But they won't listen to any reason. It doesn't make sense. And I know I have rapture fever. I want the rapture to happen. I want it to happen right now. But I take that and I say, okay, that means I'm very susceptible to believe things just because I want it to be true. So I need to double, triple check everything and be extra scrutinizing, because I'm susceptible to believe that a date is going to be the date just because I want it to be true. Like I know I'm just as susceptible to this as everybody else. So I'm doing my best to look in the mirror and try to find holes in the boat to see if there's anything that will make this sink. And there's a big one that makes this sink. They're a whole month early on the whole timing of this. The first day of the 6th month is nothing special. But, yeah. Anyway. That's that. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you in the next one. And thank you for your time and attention. And a bit of the ranting and everything at the end. It just doesn't make sense. Like, what's going on with these people? That they're just oblivious to this. That they're ignoring this. Like, what is the deal? What's going on there? Matter of fact, that I'm the bad guy for saying this stuff. Yet when the day passes, none of them are going to apologize. They're not going to apologize for hyping it up. They're not going to apologize for ignoring me. They're not going to apologize for the mean things they've said about me. Even though I was right. But something's going on. Something spiritual. Right? It's kind of like the church supporting Donald Trump as if he's God's anointed and he's going to save the country and even save the world. Like, what is going on with the church? It is very jacked up. Very jacked up. Like, what is going on? Doesn't make any sense. It seems like there's some kind of blindness and some kind of judgment going on. It really does. And I don't know what the end of this is going to be. I really don't. But I know there's some meaning to it, some point to it, and why God is letting this happen. And there's something to learn from it, but we might have to go through it to learn from it. But get ready for a bumpy ride, I guess. So, thanks again for watching. Take care. I'll see you in the next one, and may God bless you and yours.